on a deeper break, and it's in a bamboo bouquet. I know, don't forget, fantasy. Hello, welcome back, Lucas Besties, to another video. As you can see by today's title, we are going to be talking about my romantasy recommendations. I read a lot of romantasy. I think about 90% of what I read is romantasy. Another 5% or more is like dark romance. And then the other one is like miscellaneous stuff. I read a bit of mystery, thriller, and some manga. I'm definitely getting more into my manga era. I read a lot of manga this year. Manga has consisted of like 14 of my books for this year, which doesn't seem like a lot in the grand scheme of things. But once we get to the end of the year, where like I've read over 100 books, maybe about 50 to 60 of those over. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I'm looking at reaching 100 books by like August, September, maybe even before then, with the way I'm consuming manga. But that's not the point of today's video. The point of today's video is romantasy. I have like 18, 20, something but like 15 to 20 books here to recommend to you in the romantasy like subgenre. And I'm so excited to talk about like all of them because all of them I think are like 4 stars, a solid 4 stars and above. Nothing here I have given below that, I don't believe. Now that's not like talking about like the continuation of said series. This is strictly based on the first book in said series, and then if you read the first book and you want to continue on, that's up to you. But I'm just recommending the first book in the series for you to give it a try. Take this at your will. I will be giving trigger warnings for any books that may have triggering things in them. But from what I know, most of these don't. A lot of these are like light. I don't read a lot of dark romantasy. I feel like I should get more into dark romantasy because I like dark romance. But I digress. I feel like it's only fair we start off this recommendation video with my literal 6 star romantasy book that I will never shut up about now that I have read it. And it's literally by far my best book of 2026 so far. And that's kind of crazy to say that in April because I still have so many books coming out, like the anticipated reads coming out, and books I'm really excited to get to that I have high expectations for. But this one tops the cake at this current moment, and that is Heavenly Bodies by Imani Ariu. I read this in March. I have gushed about this on here, on TikTok, on Instagram. I've gushed about this book everywhere that I possibly can because I just loved it that much. I'm actually planning on doing a reread of this because I am on Mel's Patreon and she does a bi-monthly like buddy read book club, and this is the book for May and June, so I feel like it's only perfect timing for this. I'm also starting to annotate it. If you watch my annotate with me video, this is the book that I annotated. So through the month of May and June, I will be annotating this for that reread. But I will recommend this 10 times over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I love this. This is very much different. This is more like a celestial type of romantasy where it's literally like gods and stars falling. It's a lot. But in this book, you were following, I cannot remember her name. What is her name? Because I just remember her calling L. She's like L. Alara. You're following Alara, who has been destined to fall in love with a star, and that will kill them both. And so when that star learns about that prophecy that has been handed down to her, he's like, "I'm gonna take you. You're coming with me." He comes down, things happen, and she runs, and she ends up getting captured and taken to her enemy kingdom. And he's like, actually, because of that prophecy you have, I want you to kill a star, and more specifically the star you're destined to fall in love with, to get rid of him. And she's like, "You're absolutely insane." He's like, "I don't care. My son Enzo is going to train you." And so basically, you're following Alara and Enzo on this journey as they train, Enzo trains her to try and kill a star. There's a lot more that goes into this, but that's like the little gist of things. I'm terrible at giving synopsis, so always, if you want to know more, read the back of the book because I give you what I got out of the book. as the plot, and that is the main plot of the story, is trying to kill this star. But there's so much more that goes on in here, between the romance, the world building, the characters, and the relationship that these characters build. Amani's writing style. I wish I had known that book three isn't coming out till March of next year before I picked this up, but I learned that in the middle of me reading this, and it was a little too late because I was already 10 toes deep into this by the time I learned that. But I digress. I will just probably reread this about three more times before book three comes out. I do need to get book two. That's on my TBR, like mental TBR, to buy and purchase and read at some point during this year. But I really, really enjoyed this. 6 stars. The tabs say everything that I can't say because I don't just tab every book like this. I really don't. Um, I have to say so consistent with it also. But yes, I have blabbed on about this book for like 2 minutes to you. I don't think you need to hear any more. Please read the book so I can blab some more about it with someone. The next Romantasy is one that was on my top 10 books of 2025, and that is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This book, this book this is the beginning of my new gothic journey. I don't know when I'm gonna get into more gothic romanticies, but this is the beginning of it because I absolutely adored this. I ate it up. I gave it like a 4.5. It was a very solid read, and I really really enjoyed it. There were just some like small, like little minuscule issues that I had with it. That didn't give me 5 star feels, but I still loved it nonetheless, and I definitely recommend it. I actually have book two, which is Foxglove, behind me on my TBR for April. I don't know when you're seeing this. I think you're seeing this on May 1st. So I gotta say April, I mean May. May. But yes, I really enjoyed this. This book, you are following. I forgot her name. I forget every main character's names after the book. Signa. You are following Signa. She was orphaned as a baby when one night her parents and everybody in the house died. And pretty much death has followed her all her life, and she has been passed from like family member to family member to family member as they have died off because death is following her. For whatever reason, she cannot die, but she can see death when they come and take her family members. Until she gets adopted by this like long forgotten like aunt and uncle up in the countryside, kind of. And she gets to their house when she realizes that the lady of this house has recently died, and the daughter of this house is now dying from the same exact thing. And they think that it's murder, that this was not done by accident. So she must confront death and have him help her solve the murder of these two people. Oh, and stop the murder of the second one. So it's really good. It's very dark. It's very fall esque. I definitely recommend if you're gonna read this for the first time, read it in fall because it was like the perfect setting. It was dark and gloomy, kind of like it is today. It's kind of dark and gloomy and overcast, and that's literally what this book reminds me of. I really really enjoyed it. I do, like I said, do really recommend if you read this for the first time, read it in fall. Perfect timing. I was gonna wait until fall to read the last 2 books in the series, but I'm not doing that just because I need more. I want more of this. So pick this up because I definitely do recommend it. The next one I'm going to see is one that I actually have not read in a few years, but I recently bought the first and second book in this duology so I can reread it and fall back in love with that. And that is Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. I have never read the Kiss of Deception series trilogy, which is what technically becomes before this. I've never really been interested in that series, but I did pick this up a while ago, like 3 years back, I believe, and I really, really enjoyed this. I gave it 5 stars, one of my favorites of all time. But in this book, you are following Jace and Cassie. Um, Cassie is like she works for the Queen, and Jace kind of basically runs this whole kingdom. His family runs their own like little small kingdom out far out in these lands, and so I don't really remember what this one is about, so I'll just read you what the synopsis is because I read it so long ago that I don't really remember the story of this. It says a formidable outlaw family that came to be the first among nations, a son destined to lead, thrust suddenly into power, three fierce young women of Rotten, I think that's how you say that, don't judge me, the Queen's premier guard, a legendary street thief leading a mission determined to prove herself, a dark secret that is a threat to the entire continent. When leader meets reformed thief, a cat and mouse game of false moves ensues, bringing them intimately together in a battle that may cost them their lives and their hearts. This, I remember loving it a lot. There are quotes in here that I remember very sparsely enjoying and remembering them very much so. I really enjoyed this. This was so good. I highly recommend it. I will be doing a reread. I don't know if it'll be in May because in May I'm focusing on sequels, but maybe I can read this one and the second one in May and call it a day. We'll just see how that goes. I'm trying to mainly focus on sequels. There will be a couple of like first books in series that I read just because I have them on hold on Libby for audiobooks. So, but I don't know when I'll get to this, but I definitely recommend it from what I remember because it was just so good. The next book that I have is another one that I highly recommend. It has recently gotten traditionally published, so I feel like it's the perfect time for you to really get into this series. And that is The City of Gods and Monsters by Kayla Edwards, which is the first book in the House of Devils series. I read this last year in like February, and then I think I reread it back in November or October of last year just to refamiliarize myself with it before I go into book two. I have yet to read book two, which is actually on my mental TBR for May because I've already set out my annotation system for it and everything. So I will be trying to get to it next month. But the gist of this one, you were following Loren and Darian. Darian Castle, book boyfriend, book daddy, whatever you want to call him. Lauren, she is a human in this very this is an urban fantasy, by the way. She's a human in this world filled with magical creatures, whether that be witches, warlocks, vampires, werewolves, um, what do they call it? Dark slayers. She is a human when one night her and her friends are coming back from like a night out and one of them gets kidnapped, but it turns out they were actually after Loren, and so Darian gets this bounty out for her. He's like, someone comes to him personally, and is like, hey, we want you to catch this person and bring her to us, and you'll get so much money. And he's like, okay, fine. But when he encounters her and realizes that she's human, he's like, you know what? I'm actually gonna protect you. And we're gonna figure out and get to the bottom of why they want you if you're just a human. And so they embark on this adventure together to learn the truth about why the Dark Slayers and why there's a hit out on her head when she's nothing but a human. And the romance that ensues. Darian Castle has set a new standard for book boyfriends, in my opinion, with how he is just, in my head, he's like nearly perfect. Okay, he's nearly perfect. This man, the mouth on this man, the thoughts in his head, I regret not picking this up sooner. I regret not being in the loop of this sooner. A lot of people compare this to Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas, but I feel like this is also very different from that because I have read Crescent City. I thought this is very different from that and takes its own little spin on it, and I adored it. No, like you don't understand. Like this is one of my new favorite book series. I need to continue on with it. Like I said, book two is on my mental TBR for the month of May, so hopefully I'll get to it. The next book I have is one that the day that you're seeing this is May 1st, and the sequel to this book comes out in like 3 or 4 days, I believe, and that is Direbound by Sable Sorensen. If you also watch my top books of 2025, this was number two in that list. It just barely got beat out by Children of the Fallen Gods, but this is another like 6-star romantasy book wreck that I loved, and I'm so glad it got picked up. Probably like nearly like 2 3 months after it got like indie published, this got picked up and re-released, and it's so worth it. It's so good. I loved every second of this book. The like love triangle-ish of this, the world building, the plot, the characters, the relationships, the friendships, all of it. And I've seen people read their early copies of book two and give it 6 stars as well. And I'm like, give me. Because what do you mean? What do you mean? No. I am so excited for this one. In this book, you are following Marion Cooper. She is a human. Although technically everybody in this world is human, but there's certain people who bond to direwolves, and she hates the bonded because they get to live in luxurious lives while there are other people out there who are barely making ends meet and like dying off because they don't have enough food, water, whatever it may be. And so she is out and she is teaching kids to protect themselves because children are disappearing and no one knows where they are going. So she's trying to teach them to defend themselves. When one day it's her sister who goes missing and she throws everything out the window and decides to try and join the army to fight on the front with this like vampire like creatures that they've been at war with for years and years and years. But the year that she joins is the year that you can bond with a dire wolf, and this is the last thing that Marin really wants, but she ends up getting bonded to a dire wolf and having to go through the trials and challenges of bonding with a dire wolf. Um, so now she must survive months of training in order to get to the front lines to try and save her sister. The plot twist in here, the things that happen in here. Like, yes, it has some of the most like basic romantasy trope that you can possibly get in here, but also, holy shit, holy shit, holy shiesties! What do you mean? What do you mean? No. What do you mean? This is so good. I definitely recommend. I feel like I'm not the only person who blabs and blabs and blabs and blabs and blabs about this book. This has been well known on Book Talk and BookTube and the book world in general since it came out, and I have nothing but similar things to say. The next book that I had was one that should shock no one. We knew this was going to be on this list because I literally never shut up about this series in general, and that is the Daughter of No World series by Carissa Broadbent, or the War of Lost Hearts trilogy. Every time I talk about this series, I feel like I blab on and on about it, so I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet. But in this book, you are following Tasana as she escapes from slavery and goes to the orders to seek help from them so they can teach her how to use magic so she can save the rest of the slaves that are enslaved from where she came from. And they pair her up with Max. And Max is very reluctant to train her. He doesn't even want to be a part of the orders anymore. He left years ago and wants nothing to do with these people. Um, and so, but after some convincing, he does decide to train Tasana, and they form a bond. They fall in love. They go into some badass people. Yeah, no, it's really good. I definitely do recommend this one. Do look at the trigger warnings. This is a bit triggering. There is mentions of like SA beatings and stuff like that. Just kind of look it up before you go into this because it's a darker theme. For romantasy. So I definitely do want to say look at the trigger warning for this one. I'm actually doing the day that you're seeing this, I'm starting my Children of Fallen Gods video, which has been coming for months now, but I'm actually planning on literally doing it the day, like starting it the day that you're seeing this video that night. I'm coming home from work and starting that, and I'm reading it in like 48 hours over that weekend, or either till Monday or something, whatever, how long it takes me. You're gonna see it. It's one of the like third or fourth vlogs you're seeing for the month, but I digress. I highly recommend this one. This one comes highly recommended for me. It actually recently finished traditionally publishing because this was indie published for a very long time. And then her Serpent and the Wings of Night series got picked up traditionally, and then this one finally got picked up traditionally, and it is now fully out. All three books. So if you want to go get all three, you can. I do want to get the traditionally published versions, but I also kind of don't because I like my indie versions. They're so tall and floppy and beautiful. But you can do what you want. But yes, I definitely recommend this one. One of my top romantasy books of all time, one of my top books of all time. I definitely do want to make another video about some of my like top books of all time that I will never shut up about because I feel like it's a little outdated. But read the book. Another book that the tabs really show how much I like this book, and that is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. I read this back in February, I believe it was, and really, really, really enjoyed it. I have like small minuscule things that were wrong with it. I give this a 4.5. I really enjoyed it. I actually have book 2 on my TBR for the month because book 3 comes out later this year. But in this book, you are following Ceres, and she's very good at keeping secrets. She has a strange power that she possesses that she's told absolutely no one about, and she is pickpocketing like soldiers and just random people on the street who have more power than her. But one day, she accidentally gets herself in a bit of a pickle and steals something she never should have stolen. And so she ends up getting taken to the queen. And the queen is like, "Who sent you? How did you manage to get this? Are you working with the Fae? Like, what's going on?" And so the queen like sentences her to death, and as she's on the brink of death, she sees Death himself reach for her and pull her up and take her to the Fae lands. And so there she learns that Death isn't actually Death; it's actually Kingfisher, and he wants her to save the Fae lands. Although she has no clue how she's going to do that because he wants her to use a Quicksilver, and she doesn't know how to do that. So she's like, "What the fuck am I doing?" But she does learn how to do it, and some things ensue. I there's something I'm gonna say, but I feel like it's a spoiler, so I'm not gonna say it. But there's a trope in this that I feel like is done so right, but so hard to pull off sometimes. And I can't say what it is because it'll be a spoiler, and I don't want to spoil it. But it's a trope that can be done very good or very badly, depending on how you write it. But I feel like Callie Hart did it justice, and I can't wait to see that take a vital part in book 2. So I'm very excited for Brimstone. I can't wait for it. I definitely recommend this one. This is very, very good. I was quite shocked because I have very mixed opinions when it comes to like popular romantasy books that I see on the internet. Sometimes I love them, sometimes I hate them. It kind of depends. I'm very picky, I guess, when it comes to it, but I actually really enjoyed this one. I'm very happy that I did because I had bought it physically before I ever read it when I didn't know how I was going to like it. So the next one is one that I really need to hop back into and finish the series out so I can get to a book that I have on my 26 and 26, and that is The Lady of Darkness by Melissa K. Warwick. This is one that I absolutely fell in love with when I read it last year, the beginning of last year before I fell into my massive long slump. Um, but in this one, you were following Scarlet, and she is a ruthless assassin owned by the assassin lord in this world. After a tragic night where something happens, I don't want to say what because it's a spoiler, but where something happens, she decides to quit being an assassin and just live a normal life. When one day the assassin lord comes to her and is like, "Hey, you if you do this job for me, I can tell you who killed your mother." And she's like, "Great, what is it?" So she takes the job, but then children start going missing like all those years ago. And so she decides to also follow that track. Um, and it brings back some old memories, some new things to the light, and the plot just kind of thickens from there. I don't want to say too much because I went into this very blind. I didn't know what this was like. I knew this got comped to Throne of Glass going into it, So I was expecting more like Throne of Glass esque stuff to go on in it, but this is very much very darker than that. It's darker than that. It's more ruthless than that. I Sue me like this and better than Throne of Glass, and I'm saying that as a person who recently reread Throne of Glass. I like this so much better than Throne of Glass, but I digress. I still really, really enjoyed it. Scarlet is now one of my favorite FMCs. Not to spoil anything, but Shadow Mommy at its finest. That's all I have to say. I cannot wait to finally like get into the thick of the series because book two back there really expands and blows this world up into a new perspective. And I feel like book three is also gonna do that. So I need to get back into it. So I can get to the random Shadow the Ending series. I forgot what that one's called, but definitely do recommend because I really, really enjoyed this. This book is actually a new addition to this list, and that is The Friday Night by Bridget Kimmerer. I finished this literally yesterday, gave it 4.5 stars. I have another Bridget Kimmerer book in this recommendation list, but this is her YA release. She has a couple YA series out, but this is the one I wanted to start with after reading the original book that made me aware of Bridget Kimmerer and her game. But in this book, you are following how can I have already forgotten the name of our main character when I finished this yesterday? You were following Tessa, and she is like an apothecary. In this world of Kandala, there is a mysterious disease that has been happening and killing people, and there is a cure for it as long as you have the right ingredients for it. But the royal people keep this ingredient mostly for them in the royal sector. So she goes to the royal sector to steal this ingredient that's vital to the importance of the cure for this disease. When one day something happens and she ends up in the castle, and originally I think she's there to murder the king, but then they realize that she is not all that she was. They were thinking her out to be, and that they could actually use her help to make sure that people can stop dying from this disease. And yeah, no, there's more to it. I cannot give you spoilers. There's a plot twist in here that I should have seen coming because it's in a lot of romantasy, and I feel like a lot more YA romantasy books, but it's in romantasy in general. And I should have seen it coming, but I didn't. I still really, really enjoyed this. This could be like a top tier, god tier series for me based on the character, the plot, everything. This is very much a character and plot driven story. Like, yes, there's a plot to this, but our characters also help move the plot forward. And I just cannot wait to see what happens as we continue to go through the series because the ending of this book was a little wild. The ending and like the last like 25% of this book pretty much was go, 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 go. So I kind of can't wait to see where the rest of the series takes me. It's a trilogy, so I should be able to get through this pretty fast. And I already do have the audiobook for book two on hold on Libby, so I will be getting to it as soon as I possibly can. The next romantasy I have is The Book of Azrael by Amber V. Nicole. I read this late last year, kind of when I was in a slump, and I want to reread it because I think that damaged how I perceived this book. But I still really, really enjoyed it. I still really like the characters and the plot and everything in this book. But I need to reread it before I go into book two to make sure I have everything right in my head. But in this book, you are following Diana, and in this world, you have gods, you have monsters, you have all of the above in this book. And so Diana works with this man named Cade, and Cade is after the book of Asriel for whatever reason. He has not revealed this reason to Diana, but one day she does something that brings back the god Samkiel back to this planet, and he kind of takes her and is like, what do you want? What are you looking for? Why? Like, what is it? And he told her that she's looking for the book of Azrael. And she's like, if I help you find this book, you can do whatever you want with me and keep my sister safe. And so her and Sam Kill go on this journey of trying to find the book of Azrael for themselves to stop Cade from getting it. And I really, really do like this. I, I, I don't even know how to describe this book to you without giving too many spoilers because there's so much. As you can see, this is a very thick book. This is like 500 pages, almost 600, I believe. Yeah, this first book is almost 600 pages in itself. So that just tells you how much goes on in this book. So, can we talk about the floppiness of this? Kingston, whoever you are, they're like a indie publisher. Whoever you are, baby, you're perfect because look at this flop. Anyways, this was really good. I really, really enjoyed it. I definitely want to continue on the series. I'm just a little hesitant because it's like a 5 or 6 book series, and book 5 is getting released this year, or I think it's actually a seven book plant series. And we're only out up until book 5. I mean book 4, but book 5 comes out later this year. So I'm like putting it off, but at the same time I'm not because they're chunky. Like they get chunkier as we go. So I'm a little scared, but I still really do recommend this. Um, this is a bit of a dark romantasy, so again, look up your trigger warnings before going into this one, because this is not a light, fluffy, cute book at all. This gets into some dark, gruesome, scary things. The next book that I have for you is This Woven Kingdom by Tahara Mafi. This is one that I was very scared to get into because I read Shatter Me a couple years ago, didn't love it, never continued on with the series, which probably my bad because I've heard the series gets better as you go on. But I wanted to try this one because this is more my style. It's a romantasy and Shatter Me is a dystopian. Um, I'm gonna read you the synopsis because I don't remember what this book is about. To all the world, Eliza is a disposable servant never to be known for who she really is, the long lost heir to an ancient Jin kingdom. She is hunted always, forced to hide in plain sight, lest she expose herself to danger. Until one day she makes a mistake. The Crown Prince Cameron has heard the prophecies. He knows of the fearsome monster promised to kill his king. Darkness is fast ascending upon his empire, driving Cameron to desperately seek out its source. But as he grows ever more suspicious of the servant girl with the strange eyes, the more he learns about her, and the harder it is to turn away, even if falling for someone like Eliza means forfeiting everything he's ever known. I do know that I am pronouncing Cameron wrong. I don't think that's how you say it. I think it's like Cameron or something. It's something along those lines, but it's not what I'm saying it as. But I don't remember how to pronounce it in this moment in time. So Cameron it is. But that's basically the gist of the story. I actually really like this first book. It did take me a little bit to get into, but I still really liked it. The spines on these are gorgeous. I have the second and third book back there. The second book was a bit of a letdown, but I'm hoping that book 3 can kind of turn it around again and we get into like the thick of things. I just felt like book 2 was just a bunch of conversations happening back and forth that weren't needed. I don't know, but I don't know how to explain it. But this one, very much really enjoyed. Definitely do recommend it. I like Tahara Mafi's writing style in this one. Like it just takes a cake for me for sure. The next one I have, I actually tore the dust jacket on, but we didn't talk about it. But it's Heartless Hunter by Princess Sorelli. I accidentally finished this duology earlier this year by finishing Rebel Witch in like January or February, I think it was. And I really, really enjoyed this book, this duology. This is Witch Hunter romantasy vibes. And so in this book, you are following Ruin Winters, and she is the Crimson Moth, which is basically a witch who saves witches from being executed, because in this world, witches or anybody suspected of convening with witches is executed because the revolution took place a couple of years ago and they don't like witches. I feel like I've said witches many times now. And then you were following Gideon, who is literally the captain of the guard who hunts down these witches. And so Gideon has been trying to hunt down the Crimson Moth and put a stop to her schemes. And Rune is trying to find an eligible marriage so she can keep the Crimson Moth under wraps, but also be able to keep up with the guard. And she decides Gideon is the perfect person. And so now they're playing a cat and mouse game because Rowan Winters is the Crimson Moth and Gideon is hunting the Crimson Moth. And so it's literally a cat and mouse game, and it's so fun. It's so fun. The forbidden romance in this, because witch hunter, the elitism in this, the historical aspect of this, and it's so good. Because Sister really has a way with writing. I need her to release some more books like this. This is one that I am planning to go back and annotate, so I started annotating it and then I kind of stopped there for a bit, but I was really liking this and I was tabbing it. I do need to go back and finish it up so I can have a fully annotated and tabbed book with this one. So I will be getting to that at some point. I think this might be the book that I annotate in my annotate with me for this month, but we'll see. I know this is very popular when it originally came out, so it should shock no one that's in my recommendation video. So if I'm recommending it, obviously it has to be good. The next romancy I have is one that I would technically consider more like a romance set in a fantasy world because it's Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. The fantasy aspect of this is very, very light. I definitely recommend this if you're just wanting to dabble into romantasy. If you've never really read romantasy, this is something I definitely recommend because it's literally like a romance set in a fantasy world because the fantasy is so very light in this. But in this, you were following rival writers Roman and Iris. Um, and they are competing for a spot at this newspaper in this world when all of a sudden Iris's brother dies. I mean, not dies, but he goes to the army and her mother dies. That's who dies. Her mother dies. And she decides to go to the war front to try and find her brother, but also to write about the war, get away from home and everything that comes with it. But her rival, Roman, has been secretly writing to her, and this whole time, she's been thinking it's her brother, when in fact it has not been her brother. It has been Roman, and Roman knows that. um, and he does some things. It's very good. I can't give too much away. I really can't because I want you to go into this not knowing what to expect. Again, the tabs on this speaks volumes because look at that. Do y'all see that? Like, there's so many tabs in this freaking book. It's kind of scary. I don't know what to tell you. Like, the tabs in this, it's a lot of them. And so you're just following them in the story, and it's so good. I didn't, again, another one that I did not know what I was getting into when I got into it, but then once I was in it, I was in it, and there was no stopping me. The next book that I have for you is A Court This Cruel and Lovely by Stasia Stark. This is the same author of We Who Will Die, which is her new romantasy that came out earlier this year that I really need to get to. I mean, I will at some point, just don't know when. I'm so behind on books because I've been in and out of my slumps. So I feel like some of the books I'm talking about here are outdated because where have I been? But we have this one, which is what do I comp this to? I don't even know what I can really comp this to. But I'm trying to remember her name. Is it Priscilla? Priska. In this book, you are following Priska in this world where if you have any magical powers, you are, because your powers are supposed to be taken out of you when you are a baby, and if you are worthy enough, come the age of I think it's 25, some people get a little bit of that magic power back, but Priska is one of those people who has always had her magical powers and they never got taken away from her. And so when someone in her village rats her out, she has to run away. And on her run, she runs into these mercenaries who don't kill her, but they also don't help her as she's running away. And so she runs into them again. And she decides to make a deal with them that if they help her get into the royal city, she can get into the castle to learn more about something. I don't really remember what it was. Then she'll help them do whatever they need help with. While push comes to shove, and some things come to light, and Prescott realizes there's more at play here than just her own life and the life of many, many other people like her. And so yeah, no, this this is so good. This is so good. I remember really, really enjoying this. It wasn't like outstanding, like 5 stars, god tier, but it was very much like a silly, goofy, fun time that I definitely recommend. There's 4 books in this series, and I read the first two. This is not my priority series for the year because I really want to finish it off. So something I really need to get to because it's embarrassing that I am not. Anyways, the next one is the one that I read of an arc. I read an arc of this a couple of years ago, and I really, really enjoyed it. I actually read an arc of book one and book two in this series, and just never continued on with it. This is a 4 book series. It's called the Halfling Saga. And in this world, you have Fae, half Fae, and elves, I think it is. And in this world, half Fae are kind of looked down upon. And so in this book, you are following Kira. She is a killer. She is the king's blade. And she is the spy in this kingdom. Um, when a mysterious figure starts moving against the crown, Kira is tasked with finding whoever this person is and disposing of them. But then um yes, she is forced to hunt down this mysterious figure and dispose of them in whatever ways she can, but this mysterious person leads her to the Fae lands, and the Fae land is not all that it has been made out to be, and she finds out that there is more going on than she has been being told by the king, and there is more at stake here than she could ever possibly realize. And so you were following her. This one is one that's very dark. I definitely recommend you look up your trigger warnings for it because it is very dark, very gruesome. Some of the stuff that our main character Kara goes through breaks my heart. Not gonna lie, I love these books. I really remember enjoying book one and book two. I think I gave this one like a 4, and I gave book two like a 4.5. I definitely recommend these. I don't know what I could comp these to because this feels. I feel like it's another one to get comp to. Throne of Glass. Um, I feel like it could also comp it to what's the book? But I'm trying to think of. I can't remember the name of it at the moment. But there's another book this reminds me of. But I definitely recommend it. I really, really enjoyed this when I read it. So I can't wait to reread books one and two. I have book two also on my shelf up there, but I'll get to this eventually. I don't know when, but eventually. The next one I have is one that I feel like doesn't need that much of an introduction, and that is Dark Academy by Susan Valenti and Caroline Peckham, the Twisted Sisters, as everybody calls them. I feel like I don't need to say much about this, but I feel like a lot of people have read this one. I have read this, but I have not read the whole series in its entirety, which I feel like is a crime. And I need to. I have the first 3 books in the series that I am going to attempt to read for a vlog. I'm thinking of doing it in June. We'll see what happens if I actually do it in June or not, but that's my plan is June. I was going to do a vlog reading all 3 of these, like beginning of June, take the first 2 weeks to do nothing but read through Zodiac Academy. We'll see if I actually do it or not, but that's what this book is. It's following twin sisters, Tori and Darcy. They are Gemini, and they kind of live on their own in the human world. And one day, someone from this magical land of the Fae and the vampires and werewolves comes to them and tells them that they're long lost heirs to the throne, and then they come to Zodiac Academy to learn how to harness their powers and eventually take the throne as their own. And so we dive into this like new world for both of them and all of us, and it's a lot. These books get very chunky. I feel like this is the first 3 books are major setup for whatever the plot is actually going to be for the rest of the series, and that makes me a little scared. Not gonna lie, makes me a little terrified. But I digress. I still do recommend it from when I read this a couple years ago. It's definitely something where like the first book is good, the second book is even better, and then the third book is the best once you actually get into the thick of things. So the next book I have is one that's actually on my priority series for the year, and that is Blood Mercy by Vila Roth. This is the first book in the Blood 3 series. I have read the first 3 books in this series. absolutely adore this. In this, you are following Cassia and Leah. Cassia is the bastard daughter of the king. She was had out of wedlock with not the queen, basically, and she seeks out a Hesperian, which is basically a vampire in this world. Um, and so she's asking out a Hesperian to figure out, and she basically meets up with the Hesperian Leo to gather answers in a way to bring her father and get her father off the throne and to find more about the Hesperians. The thing is, if her father finds out that she's convening with the Hesperians, he will like kill her. Um, and Leo is very much interested in Cassia for more than just her blood. She's very captivating. This kind of reminds me of the Coral Prince in the sense that this is a very political driven story. Like the politics in this are very, 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 very heavy. And you have to be able to be patient with the book to let it do its thing and follow through with the plot of things in this because like I said the politics in this are very heavy in every book that I've read in the series so far, so you definitely be patient with it, but also the romance is so good. It's not slow burn like I was really wanting it to be, but it definitely isn't easy for the two of them to be together, and seeing them come together and defeat the problems that come their way. Peak. And last but not least is the other Bridget Kimmerer book I have, and that is Warrior Princess Assassin by Bridget Kimmerer. I read this in January, absolutely adored it. Book two is now one of my most anticipated releases of 2026 because of how much I enjoyed this. It's a five-star prediction. I absolutely cannot tell you how much I enjoyed this book. In this book, you are following the warrior, the princess, and the assassin. It is a poly thruple romantasy, so if that's not your thing, then I don't recommend this. But if it is your thing or you want to dabble in it, then I advise you to pick this up. This is dark, so do look up your trigger warnings. There is a warning actually at the beginning of this one, I'm pretty sure. Yes, a no from the author. Warrior Princess Assassin is a romantic fantasy written for adult readers. Within the story, readers will find mature language, violent imagery, and explicit romance. And there is additionally situations involving past trauma and abuse are mentioned alongside themes of faith, trust, survival, and hope. Please read with care. And so yeah, definitely don't go into this one too blind if there are some things that might trigger you. Because this is not a light, fluffy, easy book to get through at all. But in this book, you are following Princess Jory as she is arranged to marry the king of another kingdom, King Kai. And so one day, the assassin, one day after these two were expected to meet and talk negotiations about the marriage, the assassin gets a job that is to assassinate the princess and the king. He's not sure who it's from because they're not told all of that. But he's like, I can't do that because the princess is my best friend. And I have a feeling that this order is coming from the king. So I can't do this. And so he tries to get the princess help, but the princess is like, no, we're also going to take him with me because it's also a hit out on his head. And so they all decide to go on a run together. Yeah, it's crazy. Shit hits the fan real fast in this fucking book. The last like 100 pages of this was definitely something. Something. The thruple is thruppling. This book was definitely more of an introduction into them building their relationship. And I feel like book two is definitely going to dive into that while also trying to couple with the plot of things because we find out some things at the end of this book where book two is going to dive deep. Okay. But I definitely recommend this as long as you look up the trigger warnings. And that is the 18 books that I have as my romantasy recommendations. I was going to do this as a romantasy recommendation in TBR video. But then I realized that this is probably going to go on for a while, and this is probably like a 30 to 45-minute video if you're watching this. So I'm sorry, but I had to recommend all the ones that I've been reading and loving and enjoying. I definitely will do this probably later in the year once I have read some more because I have been reading my ass off. So I expect I will have another good chunk of romantic recommendations for you before the year is over with. So be on the lookout for it. But that is what I have for you today. I don't know what my next video is, but whatever it may be, I hope you guys like it. But that is it for today's video. If you're read any of these books, definitely do let me know in the comments down below. But I hope you have a great day, evening, night, morning, afternoon, and whatever part of the world you are having it in. As always, down below will be my Goodreads, Instagram, and my favorite for you to check out if you would like. And with that, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.